Good morning, venters. Listen, let's talk about celebrating too early. Have you ever heard a story? I'm sure you guys have heard this. I've heard this about half a dozen times in my life, where somebody will be going through like Alcoholics Anonymous. And at day 30 of Alcoholics Anonymous, they give you like a little chip that says, hey, congratulations, you made it 30 days, right? It's an incredibly awesome accomplishment. And it's such an awesome accomplishment that many alcoholics celebrate by drinking a beer and losing their sobriety. So the number one day and the easiest day for people with alcohol issues to quit is when they actually earn their chip. And if you think that's weird, it could be weird, I could be wrong, but I'm telling you, I've met half a dozen people through the years that literally celebrated getting their 1 month or their 1 year chip by becoming alcoholics again, or by imbibing in alcohol again, drinking again, right? And that's what I did to Sean yesterday. Sean, 1,000 apologies. I literally wrote you because I saw one of the greatest comebacks in college football history, where Alabama is literally just taking it to the Georgia Bulldogs. They're up like 30-7 or 30-3 at halftime. And before I know it, Georgia takes the lead with like a couple of minutes left. And I'm literally typing to Sean, oh my God, the Dogs, the greatest comeback ever. And I'm not even joking. As I finish the sentence and hit enter, I look up and Alabama scores a touchdown and they go on to win the game. And it got me thinking. They ended up taking the lead, they being the Georgia Bulldogs, right? And then they ended up losing the game at the end. Why does this happen? And does this happen in life? And does Jesse have the ability to share with us how it affects weight loss? Yes, I do. A lot of times we go out there and we say, hey, I've been walking for the last month. I've been walking for the last 3 months. I'm down 8, 9, 10 pounds. Hey, let's go celebrate. And they celebrate by taking a day off from walking. And they celebrate by drinking 2 sodas and a piece of cake because they quote unquote deserve it, or they quote unquote earned it. And before you know it, they haven't lost a thing and they're not walking anymore, right? And let's give another scenario. Let's say you never stop walking and you do lose 20 or 30 pounds and you keep it off. Well, you know, the way the world works is usually one problem replaces another, right? So you've lost 30 pounds, you look great. Now all of a sudden people want to date you, and all of a sudden you're going on these dates, you're eating these luxurious meals, these wonderful desserts, these alcoholic beverages, and before you know it, you're in the same pickle that you were. Or maybe your good looks and your new body have landed you a nightmare partner. These things happen. Why do I mention it? Because you need to get used to tackling problems and issues. And one of the things that your walk can help you do is it can help you when you're dealing with spouses or partners or potential partners, right? It can bring you down to earth. Sometimes when we like somebody, we've got that love cocktail in our mind, right? Where, oh my God, he's the greatest. Oh my God, she's the cutest. That person that you think is the greatest or the cutest might be the absolute worst thing to happen to your life. And in the past, you never had a walk. All you did was suck in these love chemicals and go whichever route it took you. And you're probably going to do that again regardless, but at least with your walk, you have moments where you can kind of come down to earth. And Sean, before you get too butthurt and think that I jinxed Georgia, which I did, remember one thing when we look at Atlanta, Georgia, and we look at Tuscaloosa, Alabama. With Georgia, you have professional football, professional basketball, professional baseball, and some pretty darn good college teams. And in Alabama, you've got Auburn, you've got Alabama, you've got Nick Saban, and that's about it. Heck, outside of California, Atlanta and Georgia are probably the movie capitals of the United States outside of California. A lot of shows, a lot of documentaries, a lot of movies are actually filmed in Georgia. So when you look at Georgians compared to Alabamans, I think we can all agree Georgia's a little bit more fun, a little bit more of an enjoyable place to live. But with Alabama, they live for football. So who does the victory mean more? I'm sure if you ask somebody in Georgia, they would say it means more to us, but the reality is, from an outside view pointing in or looking in, I think the win means a little bit more to the Crimson Tide folks. That's all they have in Alabama is that football team, right? And the best player to ever come out of that state didn't even go to that football team. It's Bo Jackson. He went to Auburn, right? War Eagle. How the hell is your mascot the Tigers and then you scream War Eagle? It never made sense to me. But either way, that's Alabama in a nutshell, right? Great football game. Never celebrate too early. And if you do end up winning, prepare for new issues and new problems. One of the things that I did was I was having troubles with my backside. So to repair those issues, I got a standing desk. Well, the standing desk leads to new issues. Sometimes I have feet issues where my feet hurt. I used to never have feet that hurt. But you want to know something? It's a lot better than having to potentially get a surgery on your tailbone again. So I'll take the sore feet and I'll try to deal with it the best that I can. A lot of us have those issues, right? So what do we do about it? Do we throw our hands up in the air and leave our future to the gods and just say it is what it is? By the way, that's probably my least favorite saying of all time. I hate when you hear people say, well, it is what it is, because it's usually said in a defeated sort of way. Guys, there's a lot of people that are going to look at you and they're so used to you starting diets and they're so used to you starting exercise routines, and even more than used to you starting this stuff, they're used to seeing you quit this stuff. So my thinking is, let's take the pressure off of ourselves and make this even easier. From now on, when you decide to start walking or exercising, let's get used to not telling anybody about it. Because words are just that, they're words. Let's put some actions into things. And how about this? How about we tell people after you've come through the other side, after you've gone through the 90 days, and after you've made a decision, that there is no such thing as a 90-day challenge. Your body has no idea that you're going to do something for the next 3 months. What we need to do is we need to use the next 3 months as a season to get you into the new body that you want. And then from day 91 on, we have to make a decision right now that we're going to do this for the rest of our lives. It's at that point where you can start to say, hey, Joey, I've been walking for 3 months. I've lost 22 pounds. All of my clothes fit loosely. I feel better than I have in decades. Will you join me on a walk? And then here's where you have to get used to people saying, no, Helen, I won't. I'm watching the football game. And here's where you got to be strong, and you have to remember that you can't really change other people. But that doesn't mean that you can't jump into your think tank and come up with new ideas to get your husband Joe walking with you. If somebody told me, hey, you're going to go on a 90-day weight loss excursion, but for the first 45 to 60 days, you're not going to lose weight, well, that's going to put me in a situation where in 45 to 60 days, if I step on the scale and I haven't lost weight, then I know Jesse's being honest with me. And if Jesse's wrong and in 45 to 60 days, like Elaine, I've already lost 22 pounds, well then, hey, I'll take it. I want you guys to lose 22 pounds in 60 days. But at the same time, whenever I go through this, it doesn't work for me. It takes me 2 months before I really start to lose weight. And on top of that, sometimes it takes baby steps in addition to our walk. So sometimes when we start with a 20 or 30 minute walk, sometimes it's best for us to up that to the point where it's 45 minutes or 60 minutes a day. And then on top of that, we've talked about lowering the amount of donuts and the amount of water that you're drinking, lowering the amount of donuts and the amount of soda that you're drinking. Because you got to remember, there's two ways to look at weight. Calories in, calories out, but also how many calories are you burning compared to somebody's basal rate where they're just burning it naturally. right? We probably all burn, what, 60 to 80 calories just sitting there on the couch? Well, if you burn 60 to 80 calories, that's great, but you might be eating donuts while you're sitting there on the couch, so you're not going to lose any weight at all. But 9 times out of 10, probably 99 times out of 100, when you're on your walk, you usually aren't walking with Oreos in your hands. Could you imagine somebody, if this might be someone's baby step, so I don't want to make fun of it too much, but could you imagine if a venter had a story like this? Man, Jesse, I was so addicted to Oreos that for the first 2 or 3 weeks of walking, I would walk while carrying a sleeve of Oreos with me. Man, if that's what it takes to get you out the door, do it. But take a look at what a sleeve of Oreos is. It's probably 15 or 20 cookies in a sleeve, right? There's 2 sleeves in a bag of Oreos. Man, do some math. If you start off with 15 or 20 cookies, try to get it where after 2 or 3 weeks, you're down to 2 or 3 cookies. And after 2 or 3 months, maybe we can get that down to 0. Another thing that I want you guys to remember if you're brand new, because I don't talk about this too much anymore, it's the 2/3 rule. There's going to be moments where people make you a birthday cake. Believe it or not, you have a birthday every year. We have Christmas and Thanksgiving every year. We have these different holidays where we get together, like the 4th of July and Labor Day, and we pig out on hot dogs and hamburgers. Now, on these special moments, do you want to be this rigid person that only drinks water, that never eats the food that everybody else is eating, that becomes literally a pain in the ass? Probably not. So what we're going to do is on those days, enjoy your piece of cake. You know, if you want to go with your grandchildren and show them how to make cupcakes, I want you to be able to enjoy a taste of the frosting with them. So eat the piece of cake that they're making for you for your birthday. You do deserve that. The reason our plan works is because it already makes a way for you to enjoy that birthday cake. Because what you're going to do when you eat that birthday cake is you're going to still walk for the rest of the day, and you're still going to drink water for the rest of the day. And then the very next day, when it's no longer your birthday, you're going to quit eating that cake. So at the end, when your daughter says, "Hey, Ma, you and Dad want to take home some of this cake?" say no. Take a picture of the cake to let your daughter know that you will forever love her for making you a beautiful cake. But just let her know, let the grandkids eat this. I'm good, okay? Get used to eating something, but not everything. I show you this all the time. Nobody's walking. It's always just me out here. I mean, I see a couple people walking all the time. What amazes me is that they walk in this heat just like I do. Well, it must be for a good reason. It must be because they actually enjoy their walk. Good morning. If you enjoy your walk, or let's take this into the video game world. A lot of you ladies never ever played video games growing up. Some of you did, but a lot of you never played video games. But I'd be willing to bet that out of Mala, Lily, Terry the Terrify, GL, Melissa Ann, I'd be willing to bet that a lot of you have recently, in the past 5 to 10 years, played a game called Candy Crush. And if you have, please let me know down in the comments so I know I'm talking to somebody here. But Candy Crush is one of those games where you don't really see it as a pain in the ass like learning all these other games. I've played video games before where you're in like a military situation and you spawn into the theater in this video game and you get killed instantly. Sometimes games just aren't meant to be played by middle-aged people. But when you play Candy Crush, or when you did, God, it was a great way for you to kill an hour, right? It was a great way for you to relieve some stress. You love looking at the picture of those colorful candies in Candy Crush. For some reason, it gave you little dopamine hits. So you no longer saw it as some goofy video game. You saw it as a little bit of therapy for yourself for when you were bored. Well, here's the problem with Candy Crush. It probably secretly makes you crave candy. What we need to do is we need to make it where instead of Candy Crush, your game becomes your daily walk. And I'm telling you, I challenge you, and if any of you guys have done this over the last 200 days, tell me, please. Tell me about some of the problems and some of the solutions that maybe you came up with on the walk. Or if they're too private and too personal, just let me know if you have had some success coming up with some novel ideas while on your walk. I find it fascinating. I really, really do. There's so many things that your brain thinks of when you're walking. And remember, your brain has a name. It's your name. So if you want to literally talk to your brain, say something like this: Jesse, come up with an idea on how I can save $10,000 this year. Jesse, come up with an idea on a way where I can make this a successful venture. Jesse, come up with an idea on how we can better our relationship with our son and daughter. And then what'll happen, and it's amazing because it always happens, a couple days later you'll be on your walk and you'll have a eureka moment where the light bulb goes off and you come up with this great killer idea. So again, if you've already tried this technique in months past when I've mentioned it, and you did come up with some pretty neat ideas, let us know, okay? And if you notice that nobody's writing an idea, sometimes you just have to fake it till you make it, make up some shit and put it in the damn comments. Holy moly. I'm tired of having to tell you people all the time. Because I was up late editing my videos, which I do all the time, sometimes I go to bed at 11, sometimes 11:30, sometimes 12:30. And last night was one of those days where with the football game and the whole 9 yards, I ended up going to bed close to like 1 o'clock in the morning. So instead of waking up at 6 and being out my door and, going on the walk by 7, I ended up waking up closer to 7:30 and I go on my walk. Right now it's like 8:30, 8:45. And believe it or not, it's already 96 degrees out and the sun is up in an area at an angle where there's very little shade. Now this is one of those things where I'm telling you, you guys would go outside and say, holy shit, Jesse, Arizona feels like an oven. I can't do this. You have to challenge yourself. Because while Arizona is hot, I don't have any problems walking during the winter. Where you live, the summers might be mild, but the winters might be hellacious. So what do we do about that? Well, when you're on your walk, come up with a proactive plan. Just like I said, you ask your brain, you say, hey, Jesse, how can I come up with a way where even if the weather is horrible, I don't lose my momentum. I don't lose my walking routine. And sometimes your plan is going to be like Sean's plan, where you go to the gym. Sean, that's my plan too, buddy. Have a little gym membership. But you want to know something? If you're poor and debt-laden, and somebody says, hey, solve your problem with a gym membership, well, it makes you come across like an asshole. Not everybody has 5, 10, 20, 30 bucks a month just lying around for a gym membership. But what we do have is we do have the inside of our home. And if you have a house, you might have a front or a backyard. If it's absolutely snowing and miserable, maybe walk in your house that day. But here's the thing. If you walk in your house every day, it's difficult to walk in place. It's difficult to walk from one side of a small room to the other and back 25 million times. So what you have to do is as soon as that snow clears up, put your parka on and get outside, Helen, and start walking. That's what you have to do. Walking is one of these things where it's so easy to get into a walking routine that the only thing I can think of that's easier than that is getting out of a walking routine. Remember, an individual walk does nothing for you. So the brain plays tricks on you. The brain will say, well, hell, if an individual walk is not, anything great here nor there, well, then I can take today off. And you're right, Helen, you can. But here's the problem with taking a day off. It leads to 2 days off, which leads to a week off, which leads to a month off. And before you know it, not only have you regained that weight, but you've also added to it. And now you're not drinking water. Now you're drinking sweet tea and soda again. And now you're eating that 3rd or 4th cupcake again. And now you're going to throw your hands up in the air and tell all your friends and family how yet again another diet and exercise routine didn't work for you. Well, is it the fact that it didn't work for you? Or can we be honest intellectually and say, I didn't work the plan. I gave up on myself. And just like that guy getting his chip at the AA meeting, I gave up on myself right when I was starting to succeed. Somebody wrote me a really beautiful comment the other day. They said, Jesse, don't you dare quit, because every time people quit, that's right when they were about to succeed. Guys, I want to tell you something. A lot of times when I bring up my sadness or my irritations at YouTube, a lot of times those are because I want you guys to see that a lot of times in life, no matter how cool of a guy you are, Jesse, you're the coolest, sometimes shit doesn't go our way. It is easy to quit. There's a million legitimate good reasons for people to quit a YouTube channel. There's a million legitimate reasons for people to ditch out on their daily walk. But what about the most important reason? Changing people's lives. Battery change. Most people that start a YouTube channel never make any money. But if you can change somebody's life, help them reconnect with their mom and dad, help them reconnect with their son or daughter, help them reconnect with an old friend, help them change their lives by losing some weight, well, guys, I hate to say it, but that might be more valuable than making 30 bucks a month on YouTube, right? I mean, I don't know about you, but if somebody said, hey, here's 30 bucks, or we can enable this woman over here to live 10 years longer and have a good relationship with her kids because right now it's lacking, I think I would say keep the 30 bucks, and I would wish that woman well. You know, the reality is there are things that are more important than money and success. One of those things is our health. So even though I might look like an ass out here sometimes talking to myself, I am not alone. I have quite a few venters that love talking with me and love walking with us every single day. And they have gotten to the point in their walking routine where they want to see me and they want to be a part of us getting more people to join in this walking campaign with us. It doesn't matter if you're a Democrat, it doesn't matter if you're a Republican, independent, Muslim, atheist, Christian. We all want to live as long as we can, and we want to enjoy that life by being as healthy as we can. And the best way to do that is keep your legs moving. My grandmother, God rest her soul, she lived to be 98 and a half years old. And what happened with her is the last 10 years of her life, she could barely move. She was one of those folks that had those frail little chicken legs. By the way, I have those frail little chicken legs, but the difference between me and Grandma is that when she was in her middle ages, she didn't really work on physical fitness. My plan is to do so. So if I have her genes and I make it to age 98, I'm hoping that I can walk all 98 of those years. But even for that, I have a game plan. If my legs are of no use to me, I'm gonna do the arm bike and I'm gonna pedal with my arms. Jesus, doesn't that dog realize this is my show? This is my show, Fido. Damn it. Every time with that dog. By the way, this house here that I'm gonna walk upon, sometimes they have a dog that has amazing leaping abilities. This dog can leap about 3 feet over this fence. It makes me wonder, is there a trampoline in the backyard or what? But I think it's just a fun-ass dog. I say fun because sometimes the dog doesn't bark, it just jumps. Lily, you've seen the dog jumping before, you know what I mean. Guys, your neighborhood is an extension of your home. You didn't buy a house in your neighborhood, you bought into the neighborhood. Take advantage of it. There's beautiful parts, there's ugly parts, there's things that are gonna irritate you in your neighborhood, but you might be 1 or 2 days away from meeting your next best friend. You know, you might be 1 or 2 days away from seeing that change on the scale that you want to see. But here's the thing that you got to promise me, that you're willing to wait 45 to 60 days before you start to see that. Otherwise, this is not the routine for you, because you're going to be let down because in the first month or two, it's just really hard to lose weight. Is it impossible? No. Can you starve yourself? Sure, I suppose you could, but how about this? Here's a tip, right? Going into week 3 or 4, whatever week you're on with me. Why don't we do this? Instead of waking up and having bacon and eggs, instead of having a bagel that's just clobbered with Philadelphia cream cheese, which sounds delicious, by the way, and instead of having that second bowl of Fruit Loops or Captain Crunch, how about you go to the store, buy a 12-pack of pre-packaged oatmeal, right? The little packets of oatmeal, plain. Don't get strawberries and cream, just get plain. And how about instead of that morning breakfast, just for the next month, right? Or just for the remainder of the challenge, so the next 2 months, how about you just eat a bowl of plain oatmeal? I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, that sounds like shit, Jesse. I don't like that plan. But you want to know something? When you wake up in the morning and you're starving, and you eat a packet of plain oatmeal, it takes away the hunger pangs, which is nice. But there's never been a person on this world that I know of that ever said to themselves, darn it, I want a second bowl of that yummy plain oatmeal. It just doesn't exist. Oatmeal is a great way to start off your day without a ton of calories. That one little packet has a measly 100 calories. So if you do want to have a second or third bowl, you can. And what that's going to do, in addition to your walk and drinking water, is it's going to make you regular. Some of you women deal with constipation or different situations down there. If you can get regular, heck, that reason alone might make it worth it for you to have some oatmeal and take a daily walk and increase your water intake. And if you do this, what's going to happen is you're going to end up losing 300 or 400 calories every day instantly just by switching from a big bowl of cereal to a regular sized bowl of plain oatmeal. Now imagine this. Imagine if you do that and then you don't necessarily want to mess up with your lunch or dinner, but even if you just make this one change at breakfast, guys, over the course of a year, that's probably going to help you lose 10 to 15 pounds. Because that is a huge, huge swing, where instead of 500 or 600 calories first thing in the morning, you're only eating 100 or 200 calories. That's a huge difference. So again, I want you guys to know that the easiest way to fail is to actually have some success. And when you do succeed, there's actually going to be more problems that pop up on the horizon. Get used to jumping into your think tank, and instead of sticking your head in the sand and avoiding problems or ignoring them, start tackling them, okay? You know, like they should have tackled that Alabama wide receiver on that play, Sean. But anyway, I love you, Venters. You guys are still with me. Sometimes you guys take a week off at a time, and it concerns me because I think we all know those are bad habits to get into. Quit taking so many consecutive days off. It's not that big of a deal to take a walk first thing in the morning. I miss you guys. I hope you guys have a wonderful day. I'll see you guys tomorrow.